Okay, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the presentation. Thank you so much for being here. Let me turn that down. Hello. Yeah. How you do? A shout out to you. I'm a shout out to you. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day wherever you are in this brutal. It's cold here in the United States. I tell you what, by God, at least where I am, it is. All right, everybody. I'm Bishop Long, and happy Friday to you wherever you are. Hopefully you're having a good Friday. It is a paranormal Friday. That's what we're talking about. Paranormal Friday. Whoop. I forgot to push that button there. No, it wasn't completely on. Well, hello there, Australia. Hello there, everybody. But before we get into our presentation, Mr. Producer, roll that footage, please.
Fans of Bishop James Long, the renowned exorcist and paranormal expert on KGRA digital broadcasting, now you can carry his wisdom with you. Our Bishop James Long collection features blessed apparel such as St. Benedict hats and tees, as well as home items to protect and inspire. Elevate your spiritual journey. Go to kgradb.com/shop and discover the Bishop James Long merch today.
So don't forget, 100% of the profits that would go to me, we're donating to the MKS Kids Foundation. So, and make sure you head on over yonder. I mean, why not? They have some great products. They have some St. Michael. They have St. Benedict items. So make sure you pick those up. Again, all the profits would go, that's going to me, we're donating to the MKS. Now, if you want to go to my websites, you certainly can do so. That is Bishop James Long, L-O-N-G, and follow it up with a .com. I want to remind you that I do have a brand new book out. There it is, 260 pages. It is a paranormal investigating training manual. It's a lot of work. I also have the 7 Archangel books. It is available now. So that is ready to go. So both have been published. So I encourage you to go to my site, Bishop James Long, follow that up with a .com, scroll down, and you'll see both books that are available. Thank you, Chad. 100% of the profits from both books are going to the MKS Kids Foundation. Again, it's my book. It's my work. I have every right to do whatever I want to with the money because it's my work. Just like any other author that would write a book, it would go in their bank account. As a community, we, meaning all of us, we're telling people about the books so that the more books that we sell, the more money the MKS Kids Foundation makes. So why not? You're doing a great cause. You're giving, you're helping children who are orphaned children who would not have anything to eat. And so there you go. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. So again, Bishop James Long, follow it up with a .com, scroll down to the middle, and there you go. And then, of course, the church's site, and that's USOCC. And you follow that with a .org. Okay, so make sure you head on over there. Tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, don't forget, everybody, we do have our night prayer coming up, USOCC. And you follow that up with a .org. Corrupt, not a man of God. Well, Brian, I'm glad that I don't get my validation from you. See, my validation doesn't come from trolls who troll clergy on a Friday night. Obviously, someone maybe doesn't have a movie theater around you or something. Go watch a movie. I mean, how about that? Whew. I mean, seriously, of all things you could do, really, you're trolling clergy on a Friday night? That is sad. There's no life there. That's like, boy, woohoo. It's cool, yeah. All right, yeah, but tonight we're going to, Ryan the Legend. Ryan the Legend was blocked. Well, Ryan, you are not the legend. You're the Ryan the blocked. Your legend just went down just like that. Well, they go to God, they go to heaven, Kay, of course. All right, tonight, everybody, it is Paranormal Friday Nights. Paranormal Friday Night, that is our presentation for this evening. And hopefully you're ready to hear about the Appalachian Trails. Yes. Yeah, Liz. Yeah. Yeah, today's a special day. So we celebrate Our Lady of Guadalupe. And that's a phenomenal story, by the way. That in and of itself is rather mysterious. A lot of people don't know about the story of Guadalupe, but there's a lot. A lot of people consider this supernatural, and yeah, I think so. I think so too. I think she does. You missed your North Carolina mountain home. You don't know the story? Oh, I'll briefly tell, because it is supernatural related, technically. I mean, if you really want to focus. So today we celebrate Our Lady of Guadalupe. It really is. It's a phenomenal story. It's one of the most, I think, important Marian apparitions ever. It has significant, there's cultural and even societal impact. So what happened is in 1531, in December, there was a peasant man named Juan Diego, and he was walking near a hill, but it's near Mexico City, I believe. And he felt this profound joy and happiness, and he saw this radiant light that was appearing from him, and this lady appeared, and he said it was Mary, the mother of Jesus, and she was cloaked in a beautiful dress. He said she was radiating light. She identified herself as Mary. And so Mary asked Juan Diego to go to the bishop and ask for a church to be built on that hill where he saw her, and where they could be honored and venerated Jesus. And so Juan Diego obeyed, and he explained her request. And then when he returned to the bishop, he was dismissed. The bishop said, no, it's ridiculous. So Mary then told Juan Diego to pick some flowers from the hill, flowers that were out of season. They were not supposed to grow there. So Juan Diego opened his tilma, which is a cloak, to show the bishop the flowers. And then an astonishing thing appeared, the image of Mary that was imprinted on the fabric of his tilma. And by the way, the image is now known as the Virgin of Guadalupe. It's venerated as a sacred symbol of faith in the Mexican identity, and really all over the world. So the bishop and many others also witnessed this miracle. It sparked a huge movement of faith and devotion. And so it really is, it's a beautiful story. So that's why we respect Our Lady. And I absolutely believe that Guadalupe was a legitimate miracle. Okay, I mean, because again, that's why if you ever see Our Lady of Guadalupe, I don't have a statue here. I think I have a statue in the other room. When he opened his cloak, you could see clearly the image of Mary from the flowers. So, yeah, it's a beautiful story. Okay. Well, that's different than Fatima. Fatima was different. That's not the same as Guadalupe, but they're similar as far as miracles taking place and things of this nature. Okay, so everybody, tonight we are going to have a fun Friday night. It is Paranormal Friday night, where we just kick back, relax, and let me just scare the living heck out of all of you. But if you really want to be afraid, if you really truly want to be afraid, then Mr. Producer has to get on screen and show everyone, because I'm telling you, he was decked in some costume. I told him, Mr. Producer, take off your costume. Halloween is over. And he looked at me and said, I don't have a costume. But I'm telling you now, I think it's his weekly thing that he dressed up as Star Trek or something. I don't know. Star Wars, Chewbacca. By the way, everybody, at 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, please make sure you join him on TikTok. You can join Mr. Producer. He goes by the handle name Bill Skywatcher. Bill Skywatcher. And he's going to be, he has a really expensive setup. For those, I love astronomy. And so he has a really nice setup of outside a telescope, and there's a meteor shower that's going to happen this evening. So consider, there it is. Thank you, Bill. So there you go. Bill, the moderator, put that up there right there. Bill Skywatcher, everybody. Make sure you follow him. And it's tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard. Yep, that's his TikTok. Matter of fact, yeah, Bill just pinned it. There it is. It's pinned. At Bill Skywatcher. Yep. And he loves drinking apple juice. I've never seen a person drink so much apple juice in my life. He loves that apple juice. I tell you what, there's nothing wrong with it. He's a big apple juice guy. Go apple juice. You got to get there's good stuff in there. All right. Let's get into it, everybody. Let's get into the presentation. Tonight, we're going to talk about a cool topic. I have been to the Appalachian Mountains. I've had some cases in the area. And the Appalachian Mountains they won't let you down when it comes to paranormal activity. Well, if you don't have any sound, you might want to turn that up a little bit there. Everybody else has sound. You might want to turn your volume up just a little bit, Joseph. Everybody has sound, so we're good to go. Now, TikTok, here's the deal. Moderators, right now we have chat on for everybody. I would prefer chat to be on for everybody. But if it gets to a point where it gets disrespectful, as it normally always does, I'm going to put sub chat on. I don't want to put sub chat on. I'd rather have chat open for everybody. But unfortunately, there are people that ruin it. So moderators, let me know if it gets out of hand. Just put it in bold. Just keep spamming it. I'll see it. If it gets out of control, I'll put sub chat on. Okay. Otherwise, just be nice, guys. Just be nice. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy this scary conversation. What I do is I give a presentation, and then afterwards, we talk about some articles that I found, and then I answer your questions regarding the demonology, paranormal, whatever you guys want to talk about regarding that topic. For those of you who don't know, I'm Bishop Long. I serve as the presiding Archbishop for the United States Soul Catholic Church. I've been in the paranormal community now for 35 years. My first place that I ever investigated was Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm from and live. And I'm telling you, Waverly is an amazing place. Amazing. I'm in my 50s. And so, yes, I've been to a lot of locations. The Appalachian Mountains are one of the places that I believe is probably one of the most haunted. So the Appalachian Mountains, it is vast, it's ancient, and it is majestic. It stretches over 2,000 miles. It weaves through the United States from Georgia all the way to Maine. So to the untrained eye, they're just simply breathtaking landscape, and really it is. But beneath their serene surface lies a very dark history. A history of tragedy, mystery, and whispers of the dead. So for centuries, these mountains have been a crossroads of cultures, a refuge for the forgotten, and these silent witnesses to countless stories of loss and longing. So hang tight with your questions, and after the presentation, about 8 o'clock or so, we'll get into them. Long before the European settlers arrived, the land was sacred to the tribes who called those mountains home, the Cherokee, which my grandmother and my grandfather are descendants from, Shawnee, Iroquois, and others. They believed that the mountains were alive, inhabited by spirits, even ancestors. So they were very sacred. As a matter of fact, I remember my grandmother talking about this. In Cherokee legend, the mountains are guarded by what is called the raven spirit, a trickster who sometimes leads travelers astray, but also protects them from darker forces. So it's more like a jokester kind of a thing. And the Cherokee also spoke of what's called the watchers. And those are, my grandmother told me that, those are spirits who linger near sacred sites, waiting silently in the shadows. I wish, when I was a kid, I wish I could have asked my grandmother more questions than my grandfather, both of them, but I didn't know. I just simply didn't know. They had a wealth of information. Many native stories warn of spirits that can appear as animals or even strange figures, warning travelers of impending danger or death. Now, based on what I experienced at the Gates of Hell Cemetery in Kentucky, the way my grandma talked about the watchers, I think that probably was what I saw. The more and we'll talk about that later, about the Gates of Hell Cemetery. So when European settlers, when they pushed into the mountains in the 1700s and even early 1800s, they faced not only the brutal wilderness, but also the spirits that were believed to inhabit it. There were many tales of ghostly apparitions that began to surface, often linked to tragic events like accidents, unaliving, unexplained disappearances. Some explorers reported hearing disembodied voices, calling their names, echoing through the trees, long after the sound should have faded. And others claimed to have seen shadowy figures, watching them from a distance, only to vanish when approached. Do I believe in possession? I don't believe in it. I know it exists. It's not a matter of belief. I performed 34. Friar Tom, I didn't get to see your message. TikTok, for some reason, filtered it. But I have performed 34 exorcisms as of today. I've blessed thousands of locations. So hang tight with your questions, everybody, and I'll get to them, I promise you, afterwards. Trolls, I will not pay attention to anything you write. You will not get my attention at all. The only attention that you will get are from the moderators, and they will block you. So you're wasting your time with the Jerry Springer mentality. Okay. The trails themselves, they became haunted corridors of mystery. Many pioneers and explorers who ventured into the mountains, well, thank you very much. Thank you. They never returned. And their disappearances fueled local legends. And there are stories of hikers who vanished into thin air, leaving behind only their belongings. Some people reported strange footprints that led nowhere. Now, one infamous case is that of the lost pioneers. This is a crazy case of the early 1800s. It was a group of settlers. Then they were seeking new land. They set out on what was supposed to be a routine trek. Days later, their supplies were found completely abandoned. No signs of the travelers. And when search parties combed the area, they reported hearing distant cries and seeing fleeting shadows. And over the centuries, of course, certain figures have become recurring symbols of the mountain's haunted reputation. And one of the most famous is the Lady in White. Now, I've had some paranormal investigating friends of mine that have worked cases in the Appalachian Mountains, and they swear that they have seen the Lady in White. They were driving the car down a dark road, down one of the mountains, no lights except for their headlights, and a woman, they could see her, but it seemed off. They kept telling me it just seemed off. Long black hair, a white gown, no shoes. And when they pulled, they asked, what's your name? Do you need some help? Can we give you a lift? She wouldn't even acknowledge them. Wouldn't acknowledge. So they went a little bit further, right out of their sight. When they went down the hill and they stopped, they said, you know what, let's back up. She might need some help. They backed up slowly. Nothing. And there was no way, they said there was no way for this woman, she couldn't have ran up the hill because it was too steep. But when they didn't go that far from her, that as soon as she left the rear view mirrors, they said, you know what, let's turn around. So they did. So there's no way she could have ran up that hill that fast. There's no way. So now a lot of people are saying it's freezing on TikTok. Is it freezing? Okay, good here. Okay. Yeah, it might be a TikTok issue. Okay, so, all right. Everybody is saying good. Okay. So hopefully we're not, it might be just your connection. So people see, they say they see this lady in white, the spectral woman dressed in flowing garments, seen wandering near old trail markers, abandoned cabins, walking down the hill. And witnesses describe her as sometimes even crying. And in some stories, she's believed to be the spirit of a young woman betrayed and unalived by her lover. And her restless soul, some people argue, is trapped in an endless search for justice. Perhaps the most terrifying encounters involve shadowy, humanoid figures. There are some people say in the Appalachian Mountains, they see tall, faceless, featureless shapes that seem to flicker in a corner of your vision. And these entities are often described as shadow people or dark beings. Their appearances are accompanied by a bone-chilling cold, a sense of overwhelming dread, sometimes feeling of being watched. Now, many hikers, they have reported that these shadow figures seem to follow them, appearing suddenly at the edge of their vision, then vanishing when looked directly at them. Now, some say these entities are malevolent spirits feeding on fear, while others believe they are guardians or remnants of ancient spirits guarding a sacred ground. So the mountains are dotted with forgotten cemeteries, unfortunately. Some of these cemeteries date back hundreds of years. Oh, you've seen them, Jess? Wow. Many are overgrown, these cemeteries, unmarked, they're forgotten by the world. And the sites are believed to be portals or even gateways for spirits. In the dead of night, some hikers have claimed to see ghostly apparitions near these old graves. They hear whispers echoing through the trees. They feel unseen hands brushing their shoulders. Locals warn, never disturb a native burial ground, because they say if you do so, it's said to awaken restless spirits who will follow you home, or even worse. Okay, now the Appalachian Mountains have witnessed countless tragedies, unalivings, self-unaliving accidents, tragedies from Civil War era. The events have left a trail of restless spirits, that people say. And in some regions, the sound of gunfire and screams are heard long after the battles have ended. Ghostly soldiers are said to march through the woods on foggy mornings. They say the spectral forms are, flickering like dying flames. Yep, and we'll be doing Krampus next Friday. Other stories tell of ghostly hitchhikers, phantom coaches that appear along deserted roads, coaches like horse and carriage, only to vanish when approached. So today, these stories persist. They are passed down through generations of hikers, campers, locals. Some dismiss them as just folklore, but others swear by their experiences, claiming that the spirits of the mountains are still very much alive. They're watching, they're waiting, sometimes reaching out to the living. And central trail sections are taboo. So, there are certain trails you just leave them alone. Avoided at night, believed to be cursed or haunted. Many hikers have turned back in fear, sensing unseen eyes upon them, or hearing whispers carried in the wind. Thank you there. Thank you for the whale. Thank you very much. For those, they're offering gifts to the ministry, so I say thank you on TikTok. The spirits of the Appalachian Mountains, they're restless. Their stories etched into the history of the land. And whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is very clear. The Appalachian Mountains, they are a place where the veil between the world is thin, and the past refuses to stay buried. So in the next section, we're going to talk about, I'm going to speak about present some testimonials who've come face to face with these spectral beings. Some of these testimonials will chill you to the bone. Again, everyone, welcome. I appreciate you being here. I'm Bishop Long with the United States Old Catholic Church. We're talking about a presentation, the Appalachian Mountains, a little scary Paranormal Friday event for you. So throughout the years, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, I run the presentation on multiple platforms, this computer and this computer. So we run it on KGREDB radio as well, plus all the other social media platforms. So that's why sometimes I'm looking here, I'm looking at this computer. Here, I'm looking at this computer, okay? So throughout the years, countless hikers have ventured into the Appalachian wilderness, only to find themselves face to face with the unknown. Some stories are told in hushed whispers around campfires, ghost stories. Others are shared in cabins or even recorded in journals long after the encounters. These are the stories that I'm going to present you. They are real, they are terrifying, and they're unexplainable. The first testimony was from a vanishing hiker. And this is on the journal that was just left behind. It was late September, just past dusk. I was hiking alone near the Great Smoky Mountains, trying to reach a campsite before dark. The air was thick with that strange hush that falls over the woods at twilight. As I crossed a small creek, I saw something. A figure in an old-fashioned clothing like the 1800s standing motionless among the trees. I called out, "Hello." There was no response. The figure did not move. Its face was shadowed, but I could see it staring right at me. I froze, unsure whether to approach or run. Suddenly, it took a step forward, then another. And then it was motionless, almost like a wax figure. I blinked and it was gone. I looked around. My heart was pounding. There were no footprints, no sign of anyone. I checked my GPS. I was exactly where I should be. But the strange thing, the footprints I found the next morning, tiny barefoot prints, led into the woods and then simply disappeared into the dirt. This person, apparently something happened at that night that scared this person so much that not only did they leave their tent, they left everything behind. They ran. They completely deserted their tent, their sleeping bag, their journal, everything. That was the only thing there. So no one even knows who this person was. The next testimonial says, it was near dawn at Klingman's Dome when I woke up suddenly. A coldness so intense it felt like I'd been plunged into ice water. I sat up, and that's when I saw her. A woman in a flowing white dress, her long hair draped over her shoulders, standing just outside my tent. Her face was streaked with tears, and she seemed to be crying. I called out, "Are you okay?" She didn't respond. Instead, she reached out her hand towards me as if trying to tell me something. I was paralyzed with fear. I couldn't move or speak. Then just as suddenly as she appeared, she faded into the shadows. The coldness lingered after, and I felt a profound sense of loss, like she was searching for someone who didn't come back. The next morning, I found strange footprints outside my tent, barefoot, leading into the woods, but they were too small to be mine. There was no sense of anyone else nearby. That was from an individual that contacted me and told me their story. What I do is when I do presentations like this, I always put out like little feelers on particular groups. Have any experience with the Appalachian Mountains? If you do, please send me an email. And I get slammed with emails. And a lot of this information, these testimonials, are people who contact me. So many of this is from their own emails. Another email that I received said, I often hike the Appalachian Trail alone, especially during the early mornings or late evenings. Hello. But one particular day, something changed. I was on a narrow section of trail, a dense forest on both sides of me. The sun, I could see through the trees, and I felt a chill. He said, like my skin was prickled. And then I saw it, a tall, shadowy figure just beyond the trees, standing still and watching me. Its form was humanoid, but formless, like a black silhouette flickering in and out of view. The email said I froze, heart racing, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination. But then the figure moved, just a little, and I could feel that it was watching right through me. I felt an overwhelming sense of dread, like I was being scrutinized by something ancient. I stared at it for what it was like forever, and then I turned to walk away. When I looked back, it was gone. But I could still feel its presence lingering, cold and heavy. For weeks afterward, I kept seeing fleeting shadows in the corner of my eye. I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched by something that didn't belong in this world. That's crazy. Some of these emails that I received are quite that's, it is interesting. Paranormal activity generates cold temperatures, but not always cold. So there have been cases, in possession cases, where the temperature can plummet, and then also the temperature can increase dramatically. These are all parlor tricks. The parlor tricks, for the whole purpose, is to scare and frighten you. And guys, for those of you who are new, because many of you are new, and you're telling me to talk about the Bible, well, I encourage you, before trolling and insulting, get to know the community. We're here almost every single day, and every single day except for Friday, we do talk about the Bible every day. Sundays and Wednesdays, we have Bible study. Sunday all the way through Friday, we have night prayer, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, one day of the week, 2 hours a week. That's it. We dedicate to the paranormal. That's it. So, for those of you who are new, just sit back and relax and enjoy the story. So these stories are just the tip of the iceberg. Many hikers report hearing distant cries. Sometimes people will hear on like a woman wailing, crying, screaming. Sometimes the anguished screams of a man in pain. Others have seen inexplicable lights flickering through the trees at night. A lot of people that I've talked to have said that they've seen this. Some felt unseen hands brush their shoulders, even woken up to find their tents disturbed. No signs of anyone nearby. Others claim to have seen ghostly animals, wolves, deers with glowing eyes, silently watching from the shadows. Another testimony that I got from an email says, I was hiking alone near the Appalachian Trail, as I always do every year in the southern section. I love the woods. I'm in the woods all the time, and I have never felt scared at all. I heard a voice calling my name, clear as day, but I was alone. I stopped in my tracks, frozen with fear. The voice called out again, closer this time. But when I turned around, no one was there, just the trees and the silence. And since then, I've always been concerned about going into the Appalachian Mountains. Well, I think they might be, Patrick. Patrick is asking, do you think they might be hearing Bigfoot? I'm a believer in Bigfoot only because there are far too many people, credible people, who have said that they've seen a bipedal creature. And I've even had a game warden on from Alaska, and he's absolutely convinced that he saw Bigfoot. And remember, he's a native Alaskan, and he's in the woods all the time. He grew up in the woods. So I think there's a lot of credible sources there who are saying they've seen this thing. So these encounters are often dismissed as hallucinations or tricks of the mind, but for those who experience them firsthand, there is no doubt. The mountains hide spirits that refuse to rest. So up next, we're going to explore the superstitions and the warnings that have been passed down through generations on the Appalachian Mountains. Beliefs that some say can protect you from restless spirits lurking in the woods. So across generations, those who dared to wander these mountains, the Appalachian Mountains, have carried with them stories, tales of curses, omens, superstitions that serve as warnings. The Appalachian wilderness, it's a place where the veil between the living and the dead, many people say, are thin. Many believe that disturbing the natural order can awaken restless spirits or even curse your journey. So we're going to talk about some ancient fears, rituals, superstitions that some say can or may keep you safe. So in the woods, it's not just superstition. It's actually tradition rooted in centuries of native lore, European folklore, Appalachian legend. Many believe that the land itself is alive with power and that certain actions can anger spirits or attract malevolent entities. Hikers, campers, even local folks adhere to certain taboos, believing that breaking these rules can lead to tragedy or even a spiritual curse that follows you after you leave the trail. So one common superstition among hikers and locals is they say, never hike alone after sunset. So it is said that after dark, the spirits become more active. Many believe that wandering through the woods alone at night invites shadowy entities, restless spirits, even the vengeful dead. The next, avoid looking into reflective surfaces in the forest. So whether it's a puddle or a mirror or even a shiny stone, gazing into the reflective surfaces is thought to be very dangerous because they believe, the folklore says, spirits can inhabit these surfaces. or they act as portals to the spirit world. And some say looking into the water could actually show you your future or reveal a ghostly face staring right back at you. Curtains are always shut. The reason being is because you don't want to ever look out, because if you look out, you never know where something think you, or you never know if something is looking back at you. Leave no personal items behind. Many hikers believe that abandoning belongings or leaving offerings at certain spots actually invoke curses, attract spirits that will follow you home. So again, these are what folklore, these are legends that's been passed down. These are people who've contacted me who live in the Appalachian Mountains. And this is some of the things they say. So a lot of people say, well, you know, you leave something there for the spirits as an appeasement or as an appreciation. And the locals will say, no, don't do that. Never take a cursed object. There are some old trail relics, like an unusual stone or a broken piece of jewelry. In some circles, they believe that can carry curses. So removing or taking these objects is said to bring misfortune, illness, or hauntings. Oh, Benji lives there. My curtains are always closed by 6 p.m. Wow. So Benji, you really do. You close the curtains at 6 p.m.? Benji on TikTok is saying that he lives there in the Appalachian Mountains. So, okay. Oh, you do? Wow. Yeah, a lot of people do. Carry protective charms. Many believe that charms like a silver coin, crucifix, an old Native American talisman can ward off evil. Some hikers carry small bundles of herbs or stones as protection. Now, I want to talk about cursed trails and places that with dark reputations in the Appalachian Mountains. First is the Devil's Path. That's in New York. One of the most notorious trails in the Appalachian Mountain Range, the Devil's Path, is said to be cursed. Hikers have reported sudden, violent storms appearing out of nowhere, even on clear days. Some claim that the trail itself is a portal, a place where the devil itself walks among mortals. And legend says that anyone who ventures too far off the trail or provokes these spirits may find themselves lost forever, caught in a web of darkness and despair. I want to make this clear to everybody. I've not been to many of these locations. I'm here to tell you what the locals say about this particular trail. You can agree or you can disagree. That's fine. What I'm doing is expressing what locals have told me. Like, for example, in Tennessee, some folks told me about the Clingman's Dome. So at dusk, at dawn and dusk, actually, they said ghostly apparitions and strange lights, they're often seen, flickering near the observation tower. And some say that native spirits still haunt that sacred site and that disturbing the land will awaken their wrath. Oh, you been there? That's Clingman's Dome. Never been there. The next is there's an old abandoned campsite. It peppers the trails. Many warn against camping too close to them. So campers who do not ignore these or who ignore these warnings report waking up in the middle of the night to strange noises, seeing shadowy figures lurking just outside their tents. Now, in Georgia, there is a trail called the Blood Trail. So if you guys have been there, let me know. You've been in Cleveland, you can see miles. Oh, very cool. So local legend speaks of a trail where a series of unalivings occurred in the 1800s. Some say that walking this trail at night can cause inexplicable bleeding or visions of bloody past. Many who have hiked there claim to feel a very heavy, oppressive presence and hear ghostly screams echoing through the trees. And that is the Blood Trail of Georgia. Yeah, some of these, what was so fascinating is to hear the stories. Right. And these people, the locals are very serious about this. Because if you do, you may get something back, Yeah, we're going to talk about the whistling thing in just a second. Yeah, I'll talk about that and where that came from. Native tribes have their own sacred beliefs about the mountains. They warn outsiders to respect the land. For disrespect, they believe, can invoke powerful spirits. Now, native legends warn that disturbing any burial sites, and unfortunately, people do. What they'll do is they'll go to this Appalachian Mountains, they'll go on the trail, they'll find these Native American burial sites, and they will take a stone with them. Do not do this. First of all, why would you? It's a form of desecration. Leave it alone. It is a sacred site. Many trails are considered portals or sacred pathways that should be only traveled during certain times. Now, in Native American legend, the folklore there believe that small tokens like tobacco, shells, or stones, they are permissible to be left at sacred sites to appease spirits, to ensure safe passage, but never take anything from them. Unfortunately, people don't. Now, there have been many seasoned hikers watch for omens. Omens like strange animals, unusual weather, inexplicable sights, an owl hooting in the daytime, or a black cat crossing a trail, or a sudden drop in temperature. They're all believed to be warnings. Some say that if you see a coyote or wolf in these mountains, it is a sign that spirits are watching or that you're being tested. Now, in the haunting mountains of the Appalachians, superstitions are more than old wives' tale. They are warnings that are etched in the very land itself. Respect the land. Heed the signs. Perhaps you might avoid awakening something that's best left undisturbed. But the mountain's curses are timeless, and some say they never truly fail. So we're going to talk about some other topics. I'm going to briefly mention about the whistling. A lot of people know about the whistling and don't whistle in the Appalachian Mountains, but they don't know why, in fact, that happens. Well, it's considered bad luck because there's local legends and superstitions there. Is there scientific basis that prove that if you whistle? No, obviously not. But it is widespread and it is believed. So in the Appalachian folklore, whistling is sometimes associated with summoning spirits or spirits of the mountain. And people believe that whistling could attract or even disturb spirits, causing mischief or harm. So the stories are often caution travelers to keep quiet, avoid whistling, especially at night. Again, you don't have to agree with this or say, well, that makes sense. The point is, it's folklore, it's legend. And I think that's what's so special about this is we're trying to teach. This is the folklore, this is the legend that many people swear by. Some legends tell of mountain spirits or lost souls that are lurking in the hills and the woods. Whistling is seen as imitating the sounds of these spirits, signaling your presence. That was thought to potentially attract dangerous entities of wandering spirits. Also, in old isolated mountain regions in the area, people relied heavily on outdoor work, and they could easily become lost. So the superstition about whistling, it might be rooted in practical sense. Whistling could alert animals, or in some cases, it might give away a traveler's location to predators, hunters, or even evil spirits. In some areas, avoiding whistling is a sign of respecting the natural spirits of the land. So honoring traditional belief that spirits or energies inhabit the mountains. So there's a lot of reasons why, and superstitions as to why one should not whistle when you're in the Appalachian Mountains. Now, The Appalachian Mountains are beautiful by day. Absolutely amazing. Sunlight, filtering through the canopy, birds filling the air. But people say that when darkness falls, a different world wakes up. And many hikers believe that the spirits on the mountains become more active at night. Silent watchers, waiting in the shadows, eager to reveal themselves. Many hikers will not hike at night. So when it starts getting when the sun is starting to set, their camp is set up. So we're going to also talk a little bit more about some terrifying stories of those brave, or some might say foolish, enough to hike in the haunted darkness after sundown. So the next are tales of encounters with unexplainable when the veil between worlds grow thin, especially when you're traveling at night. Some hikers choose night hikes for the solitude, the thrill of adventure, because they believe that the spirits are less active during the day. But what they often find is something more sinister. The forest at night, many people believe, is a place of shadows, where the familiar becomes frighteningly unfamiliar, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where a lot of people claim to have seen things that defy explanation. This one individual sent me this email. They were hiking at night, and they knew they should not have been hiking at night. And he said, "My friends and I were hiking in the early evening near the Appalachian Trail, northern end. The sun was setting. We knew that we needed to set up camp, but we continued to hike. Suddenly, we saw a flickering light moving between the trees. Not a flashlight. It was a strange, pulsating glow, like an orb or a lantern that seemed to dance around in the woods. They called out, trying to get a better look, but the light darted away, flickering so fast it was impossible to track," they said. "Then it disappeared altogether." Thank you. "The woods grew eerily silent," he said, "and an icy coldness settled over the entire area. They hurried back to camp, but none of them felt safe, like they disturbed something ancient and watching." The next individual hiker sent me this. He said, "One night I decided to walk a short section of the trail alone at night, just as a storm was rolling in." Probably not the smartest thing to do. Anyway, they said, "As I moved deeper into the woods, I felt a sudden shift in the atmosphere. The hairs on my arms stood up. I had an overwhelming sense of being watched, and I saw this thing, a tall, shadowy figure, motionless, standing in the trail ahead." Says, "I froze. It was a humanoid, featureless, like a silhouette carved from darkness. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. The figure just stared at me, unmoving. Then it slowly began to drift closer. I turned and ran, heart pounding, but I could still feel its gaze right on my back. And long after I escaped the woods, I swear I saw it again in my dreams for weeks after, and I've not gone in the woods since." Oh, that is crazy. This individual, this was a female. She said, "I was hiking alone at nights on a trail near the Blue Ridge Parkway, as I do all the time. The moon was high, illuminating the path, but I kept feeling like I was being watched. Suddenly, I lost my footing, and I slipped into a small ravine." That would be terrifying. She said, "When I looked up, I couldn't find the trail. The woods around me seemed unfamiliar, twisted, and even darker than before." She told me she tried to retrace her steps, but the trail just seemed to disappear. Instead, she said, "I found myself in a strange clearing with trees that seemed to be speaking. It sounded like speaking in the wind. I panicked. I started shouting, but no sound came out." I got a little puzzle. There we go. Got to do a little puzzle. So, but I couldn't. I panicked and I started shouting, but no sound came out. And then out of the shadows, I saw a figure, a woman in white, staring at me with hollow eyes. I was able to run, blindly, tripping over roots until I burst out of the woods into the safety of my camp, shaken, exhausted, convinced that I'd crossed into something otherworldly. That's dangerous stuff. I mean, first of all, you hiking at night by yourself is not a good idea at all. These people say, one night I was camping in a remote spot with some friends when we began to hear voices. It was faint at first, whispering their names, calling them from all directions. They sat up, flashlight in hand, but they didn't see anything. Then the voices grew louder, like a bunch of people were saying their names and even crying out in pain, pleading for help. And then they saw a mist swirling around their tents. And through it, I glimpsed fleeting shadows like darting between the trees, shadow people. And they said that we felt icy figures brushing their shoulders. They froze, paralyzed with fear, until dawn when everything disappeared. They packed up and left immediately, but could not shake the feeling that they had been marked by something unseen. See, that's the thing. Well, excellent. Thank you there, Katie. Thank you. I tell you what, some of these stories, when I read them, they were pretty intimidating. Many who hike at night describe a profound sense of disorientation. Now, that could be obviously explained because it's night. Thank you. But the darkness seems to warp like time and space, making familiar terrain completely unrecognizable. Some claim that the woods themselves seem alive, like shifting and breathing. And hikers report hearing distant screams or ghostly footsteps, or even the soft cry of a child lost in the woods. Native Americans will tell you never follow that. One individual sent me an email and said they kept hearing the crying of a child, and they left their tent, their campsite, they were by themselves, and they went off of the trail, and they kept going, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And they kept, it was like right in front of them, and they kept chasing after what they thought was child. Had they not stopped at that very moment, they would have went right off a cliff. The cliff was like 3 feet in front of them. And they stopped and they looked down. There was this massive cliff they saw. A lot of people say that they will experience that. Some even speak of seeing like spectral lights darting through the trees, resembling lanterns or orbs, moving with a purpose, perhaps guiding or even tormenting those. So, yeah, it's pretty fascinating, isn't it? It could be demons. Yeah, it's just there's so much folklore. There's so much legend in these. There's so much that we don't know. But here's what we do know. We know that there are a lot of people experiencing these activities. And by the way, for those of you just joining, don't forget, next week we're going to talk about Krampus. Krampus is next week. So now, one of the most chilling aspects of 21, I just talked about that. Yeah, it's a legend because it says you can interfere or get noticed by spirits. One of the most chilling aspects of night hiking in the mountains is the phenomenon of hikers who simply disappear. They set out at dusk only to vanish without traces. Campsites found completely abandoned. Gear still packed, but no sign of them. Yep, 34. Now, in the next section, the mountains hold secrets in the darkness, spirits that thrive in the night, shadows that dance beyond our reach. So next, we're going to discuss what can you do? What rituals and protections people believe that might keep you from these nightmarish encounters. But remember, sometimes the best choice is to turn back before the darkness consumes you. Okay. So again, for those of you just joining us, I'm Bishop Long. I take questions after I do the presentation because I have tremendous amount of work that I put in this lecture for you guys to learn about the Appalachian Mountains. And then after it's over, we can talk about demons and possession and the paranormal. But until then, we're having a presentation on the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, so questions after the presentation. If you find yourself drawn to the haunted trails of the Appalachian, oh, Claudia, you can't be a nice person. Imagine that on TikTok. Just be kind. So whether you go there for adventure, curiosity, desperation, remember this: the mountains are just more than rugged terrain. They are sacred. Native Americans believe they are alive. They are haunted by restless spirits that do not take kindly to intrusion. Many who have dared to walk these paths after dark have paid a very heavy price. Many people say that the spirits are patient, ancient, and unforgiving. To survive, you must respect their domain. So we're going to share some of the warnings, the rituals, the secrets that might keep you safe, according to legend. 1, never hike alone, especially after sunset. That is one of the most important rules. Spirits are believed to be more active at night, according to legend, and lone travelers are the easiest targets. So the old timers will always tell you, always hike with at least one companion. Keep your group close. If you sense something is wrong, leave immediately. Don't wait to investigate. 2nd, as I mentioned earlier, respect sacred land and old cemeteries. Most haunted spots are sacred native sites or old burial grounds. Do not disturb those places. Leave offerings if you wish, again, tobacco, shells, small tokens, to appease the spirits, but don't take anything. Next, avoid looking into reflective surfaces, as we talked about, after dark. You can carry protective talisman, like, again, a crucifix. Keep a light on. Be vigilant. Do not travel at night. Coins, yeah. Always carry a good flashlight. Keep it on. Make sure you have extra batteries. Many people say that when they go into the Appalachian Mountains and they travel at night, even though they know they shouldn't, when they have paranormal activity, their batteries completely are zapped. There is no more energy for the batteries. They're completely gone. Now, there are some superstitions and warnings. Do not cross certain trails or boundaries, because some paths are considered cursed or even portals. Never sleep in a haunted spot without a protection ritual. Do not leave food or personal items behind. The mountains are said to be ancient, sacred, alive with unseen forces. They remember every intrusion and every disrespect. And many people who ignore these warnings have paid dearly. So before you set foot on these trails, the locals and Native Americans say, are you prepared to face what lurks in the shadows? Are you respectful enough to leave these spirits alone? Because if you're not, be warned, the mountains do not forget, and they do not forgive. Now, we have journeyed deep into the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. It's a place of beauty, danger, darkness. Heard stories of those who have seen the unseeable, felt the invisible, been touched by forces beyond understanding. I've talked to you about some personal experiences and even testimonies, stories that's etched in the very being of the land. Many who've wandered the Appalachian Mountain, trails, drawn by curiosity or the thrill of adventure, have paid a very heavy price. Some leave with stories that haunt their dreams forever. There are other people who have said they will never, ever return. I think there's one lesson that the Appalachian Trails teaches us. It's this: respect the land. For in the ancient woods, every stone, every tree, every whisper carries weight, according to legend. So respect is not just a superstition, it's a necessity. The land is alive with memory and power. Disrespect it, and you risk awakening forces beyond your control. Yeah, we talked about that when I first started the presentation. Now, some say the spirits are guardians, watching over the land, its history. They're ancient, they're wise, they're patient. They listen to the whispers of the trees, the cry of the wind, the heartbeat of the mountain itself. So if you listen to the stories, ask yourself, what does it truly mean to walk these haunted trails? Again, the trails are long. The Appalachian Trails, we're not talking about just a couple hundred feet. The mountains have a way of reminding us, sometimes softly, sometimes violently, that they are alive with memories, with spirits, that stories refuse to fade. I want to share just a few things here before we go, because some of them are pretty crazy. There was one individual who had a paranormal team, and they decided to go to the Appalachian Mountains. It was close to the Smoky Mountains. Oh, I'm not leaving yet. I'm just getting ready to close out this presentation. But they went to the Smoky Mountains in the Appalachian Trails because they wanted to investigate an ancient burial site. They were in the belief that it was all nonsense and that all these folklore and all the Native American legends and all this other stuff was just fairy tale. They ended up going to a Native American site that was a cemetery. There were stones that were clearly placed for certain reasons. They decided to take these stones. We are a human being safe place. Everyone is welcome here. The only people that are not welcome here are trolls and people who judge others. And so what they did is they took these stones and they threw them in the woods, making a mockery of it, laughing at it, because they were Native Americans. And they thought it was all funny and all fun and games. The leader of this paranormal group, who urged these people to take these stones and throw them, began having seizures. Never had seizures ever in their life before. Never. They said they began to smell something burning before it happened, and this person went into a full seizure. Thankfully, they were able to get this individual to help to the hospital, but there was no explanation. There was no history of seizures whatsoever, never. But the moment, I just find it interesting, the moment he ordered them to take the stones and throw it, because he's making fun of these people, the Native Americans, because they're pagans and all this other stuff. As soon as he told them to do that, he went into a seizure. And needless to say, they quit immediately. They're no longer part of the paranormal team, and they never go to these locations like this and make fun again. Nice, not, and you should not ever. That is completely disrespectful. All right, everybody. For those of you just joining in, I'm Bishop Long. I appreciate you all being here, and we were doing a presentation on the Appalachian Mountains. And in a moment, we'll take your questions and just have a little conversation. And never mock. Yeah, never mock. Don't forget, for those of you who are watching on all the other social media platforms, on KGRADB and all the other, so you can go to the website, KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. And you can go there and make sure you pick up those items, click on the shop link and click my name. For those of you who didn't see it, there it is.
Fans of Bishop James Long, the renowned exorcist and paranormal expert on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Now you can carry his wisdom with you. Our Bishop James Long collection features blessed apparel such as St. Benedict hats and tees, as well as home items to protect and inspire. Elevate your spiritual journey. Go to kgradb.com/shop and discover the Bishop James Long merch today.
My site, you can certainly do so. I have a brand new book out. It is the Paranormal Investigating Training Manual, 260 pages. I also have these 7 Archangels books. That's done too. If you go to my site, Bishop James Long, follow it up with a .com. Scroll down to in the middle there, and you'll see the 2 books. 100% of the profits for both books, they are going to the MKS Kids Foundation. It is an orphanage that we are partnering with as a community, and we're helping them raise money. So I think that's beautiful. Okay. I don't know about that, Carlos. Good, good. Let's talk about this, and then we'll get to your questions. This was an article that I saw the other day about Alexandra Demetria, and I wanted to present this to you guys. Thank you. The Appalachian Tunnels. Now, a lot of people don't know about this. It has been rumored that some quite unusual creatures have escaped from a secret underground experimental lab, and they roam around the Appalachian Trail. They seem to be similar to humans, but very different from them. It is rumored that by the locals that their home is mostly the secret underground tunnels along the trail. Such tunnels have indeed been found in the face of remnants of an old military base in the Blue Ridge Summit. So thank you very much. Thank you. So make sure you just stay away from the tunnels. Also, there is a legend that for hundreds of years, there has been a creature, it looks similar to a dog. It has been scaring off both people and animals coming across his way. And while the so-called snarly yow isn't actually doing anything, the terror of seeing him is causing incidents. The hikers are forced to take another, more difficult route on the Appalachian Trail because this dog is blocking the easier path. Of course, we have to talk about the Bell Witch. So the story of the Bell Witch begins around the beginning of the 19th century in the village of Adams, Tennessee. John and Lucy Bell decided to settle in a new home in Adams. They had 2 daughters, and for quite a while, the family had a peaceful life in the village. And years later, however, they began experiencing strange noises and paranormal activity in their house. Many curious people came to meet with a ghost hunting the Bell family, which was claimed to be a witch whose goal was to unalive John Bell. However, once the man passed away, in a very strange circumstance, by the way, the ghosts of the witch did not disappear, continued to hunt his daughters. While the presence of the Bell Witch in the region had not been reported after the beginning of the 20th century, her spirit may still be roaming around the popular Appalachian trails. Bigfoot. The legend of Bigfoot is one of the most popular ones in the Blue Ridge Mountains and across the United States. The creature, looking like a mixture between an ape and a bear, is claimed to have enormous limbs. Imprints of his feet have been reported in many places across the Appalachian Mountains and beyond. And people have described numerous encounters with this creature. So people say Bigfoot lives in the forest. He's considered a watcher by the Native Americans. And the hikers of the Appalachian Trail shouldn't be surprised if they come across his enormous steps around the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains. So be prepared. Next, the Brown Mountain Lights. So also called ghost lights. It's claimed to be the Brown Mountain Lights are glowing spheres in the sky in like different yellowish colors. It's also said that they have been happening for over a century, but their occurrences now, it's a rarity. Reports of them before the 20th century, they're also present, and that is where a variety of legends that explain their origin. One of the most famous ones is that these are souls of Native American women searching for their loved ones who passed away in the battle between the Cherokee and the other tribes. Another popular legend is that these lights are the torch of other people that continue searching for his lost loved ones in the forest. Yeah, there's people who swear they've seen these things. Oh, cool. There's a Bigfoot store down in the Blue Ridge, Georgia. Very cool. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Banshees, I certainly believe that there's something there. There's people who've experienced. Matter of fact, we had Willie Windwalker Gibson on, who is a shaman, and he talked about banshees, and they're quite evil. Some people say in the Appalachian Mountains, you can see Mothman. So the Mothman, it's a large red-eyed creature in human form with enormous wings, was first and last reported to be seen in the 60s in the village of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. His first encounter was with 2 couples during the drive across the village who claimed to have seen a large flying creature behind their car. And the event was followed by other reports of the Mothman, who was also found guilty of the collapse of the Silver Bridge in 1967. Even though the creature has not been spotted since the 60s, the legend of it lives, and the story is still popular among hikers of the Appalachian Trail. Now, this was, I spoke to a couple of people who live in the Appalachian Mountains who've been there for a while. They have told me they have seen these people. These are the moon-eyed people. He's doing okay. His wife isn't doing so well. So the moon-eyed people claim to be the first European settlers. Long before Christopher Columbus discovered America, the moon-eyed people were told to be inhabitants of the Smoky Mountains before the Cherokee tribe. And Native American legends describe them as short, blue-eyed people with fair skin and hair who became active at night, just like animals. And it has been rumored that they have been unable to see during the day, and that is why life in their cave settlement was centered around night activity. Due to this, they were named moon-eyed people, and the mystery around their existence continues to live on today. See, K-Bug says those are real. There's a lot of people who absolutely say that these things are real. The next one is the wampus cat. Representing another forest half animal, half human creature, the legendary wampus cat derives from the Native American tribe, the Cherokee story. It's said that the wampus cat came into existence when a Native American woman was expelled from the tribe. And having been cursed for witnessing forbidden rituals and walking across her village, she hid under thick fur and became one with it, becoming the wampus cat. It's a popular belief that this half woman, half cat creature still hunts the Appalachian Mountains. A couple more. The Flatwood Monster. Another monster claimed to have come into existence in the 50s is the Flatwoods Monster. It was reported to have been seen in Braxton County, West Virginia by elementary schoolboys, a woman, the mother of two of them, and a 17-year-old National Guard. And following a strange burning light in the sky, the group found their way to the woods where the creature was reported to have been seen levitating. And their story, one of the most first ones to be connected with UFOs, made it to the national news at that time. Years later, the Flatwood Monster still has not been forgotten by locals around the Appalachian Mountains. And the Pierce Pond Ghost. This is a tranquil fishing area along the beautiful Appalachian Trail. The Pierce Pond has often been connected with dark, eerie figures that appear at night and scares off hikers and fishermen. The first one to have encountered with such a creature happened to be a night camper on the lake, which had come for fishing. And having been scared to his bones, he never returned again to the lake. But the rumors of paranormal activity on the pond still haunt the Appalachian Trails today. Yeah, a lot of people have told me about this pond, and I thought, my goodness, this is there's a lot of people know about this pond. The locals will not go there at night. No, they will not. So Zoom, well, send me a message on Book to the Face there. Asheville. Yeah, Asheville is beautiful. It's really beautiful. Now, it's interesting. The Appalachian, yeah, it could be the Wendigo. Would you not go at night? I think, see, the thing, if this is similar to the Gates of Hell Cemetery, no. I think if you do that, then you're asking for trouble. And that's the thing. Don't put yourself in a situation where it could be precarious. No, cheat. No, someone's asking, do you think using a spirit board is the same as a Ouija board? Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. When you're using a Ouija board, you're giving the spirit permission to possess you. People, I don't know why they haven't connected that dot. And I'll tell you why. When you place your hand on the planchet, you're giving whatever spirit that is present full control of your motor functions to move the planchet. Folks, that's a form of possession. Why would you do that? That makes no sense whatsoever. None. And you're giving an invitation. So, Stryker, here's what I believe. Do I believe that these creatures exist? What I do believe is that there are many people that have reported them. To them, it was real. Have I ever seen? The only thing that I've ever seen is something that I would consider, say, could be Mothman. Perhaps. That's the only thing that I could probably describe. So I would say probably Mothman. I've seen shadow people. Oh, thousands of shadow people. But that one creature at the gates of Hell Cemetery, I would say Mothman, probably, that I saw. So, like, if you're using equipment to document, well, you have to document, especially if you're working with cases with me. Okay. You see, again, yeah, look, here's the deal. You're not, when you're using like digital recorders, you're not giving the spirit or anything there to control you, to manipulate you, to possess you. A Ouija board you are. And that's why you should never, ever give any spirit permission to use your body to do anything, unless it's the Holy Spirit. Yeah, Carlos. Okay. I want to tell these couple of these stories, and then we're going to stop. This is a young couple was hiking on the, well, we're going to stop and I'll answer your questions. A young couple was hiking on the Appalachian Trail in the southern part of Virginia when experienced something they could not explain. While they were asleep in their tent one night, they suddenly woke up to the sound of rustling and odd noises coming from outside their tent. The man went out to investigate and managed to scare off some figures he saw lurking around. He almost chased after them, but decided against it. The next night, they made camp with their backs to a cliff in order to be prepared. They both slept with weapons next to them, and sure enough, the figures returned. Once the man announced they were armed, the figures retreated. The next day, the couple hustled to get out of there, and around midday, they rounded a corner and saw a silhouette of a figure standing in the distance, watching them from afar. They quickly were able to get off the trail back to civilization. But the whole time they said they were being watched. This other story that was reported in 1988, a man was hiking along the trail when he underwent an awful experience, perhaps more frightening than a ghostly encounter. He was hiking on the trail when he noticed a bright light coming from the forest next to him. And not wanting to bother anyone, he didn't investigate, but set up camp somewhere close by. He woke up in the middle of the night to find a man standing over his hammock. Thank you very much. Thank you. Standing over his hammock. And startled, the man quickly fled and yelled to unseen people that the hiker was awake. And the hiker was terrified, quickly packed it up and much in distance and ran. And a few days of nonstop hiking finally allowed the hiker to relax a bit. But that night, he was sleeping in the hammock when suddenly he was cut down, wrapped up, dragged away. He was beaten mercilessly, and while the people shouted at one another as they were preparing something, and luckily the hiker was able to cut through the hammock and escaped. Even though he made it back to civilization, police inquiries into finding the people who did this came back with nothing. And this was actually a police report. Now, children usually make everything creepier, and that's what makes this man's tale even more frightening. So by his account, he was backpacking along the Appalachian Trail with a few people when something bizarre happened. He and his group woke up one morning to find their campsite surrounded by a thick mist. As they were packing up, they started to hear children's laughter coming from all around them. Once they were about done packing up, a group of children, led by one parent, walked out of the mist and started to walk past the group. The kids asked the backpackers where they were going. Someone responded that they were hiking the Appalachian Trail. And the kids started to laugh, and one of them said, "This isn't the Appalachian Trail," and kept walking. Throughout the day, the campers could hear the children giggle all around them. That's kind of crazy. And the Spearfinger legend originates from the Cherokee Indians, has been used to scare children for years. She is a witch-like hag who is said to be able to take on a persona of a sweet old grandmother. She lurks around the highest peaks of the Smoky Mountains, keeping a special eye out for children who have wandered away from their parents. She likes to prey on their fear, telling them that she will help find their parents, but slowly sings them to sleep. And once the child is sleeping, Spearfinger will use her fingers and do terrible things, which we're not going to say. Yeah, it is there. But there was so much. So many. As a matter of fact, in Dudleytown, Connecticut, Dudleytown, Connecticut has an ominous nickname, the Village of the Damned. It is called that because of its horrifying story. So it was founded by the descendants of Edmund Dudley, who was unalived by Henry VIII for treason, was said to have cursed land and cursed family. The Appalachian Trail runs right by it. So Dudleytown was built in the 18th century, was abandoned in the 19th century, leaving only ruins in its wake. No one knows for sure why it was abandoned, but some people believe it's because residents who stayed there soon went insane or unalived themselves after claiming they were possessed by demons. People say that they see strange lights and orbs surrounding the area. Man. Also, in 2011, a man took a week off work to go hiking along the Appalachian Trail, but it turned into a frightening experience he would never forget. One night, he heard noises coming from the outside of his tent, but didn't bother to go outside to investigate. The following night, he was sitting around his campfire when suddenly he was shocked to see a man standing near his firewood. His hands and body were badly burnt, his face smoking. The man was too afraid to even move, and burnt figure just stared at him with vacant eyes before walking away. This scared the man beyond all reason. He quickly packed up and he left the area. While leaving the trail, he came across a recently burnt down house with a sheriff around it. The sheriff told the man that 4 days prior, the same day that the hiker started his trip, an entire family burned alive in the house. That's what the old sayers, the old timers say. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, some of these stories, it's like, I don't know if I want to. So, Skinwalker Ranch. I think there's something there. I've never been there. Oh yeah, of course, Stryker. I've never been to Skinwalker Ranch, but I think that there's some evidence that there's something there. And I do believe that Bigfoot exists. And because there's far too many people talking about it. Far too many people. So please don't use caps. If you use caps, you're going to be muted. And I think they probably told you that. Okay. Yeah, a group campground. Well, if that didn't scare you, one of the Appalachian Trail's most enduring urban legends is that of Oddie Klein Powell. And on top of Bluff Mountain, you can find a marker with information about 4-year-old Powell, who passed away in that exact spot over 100 years ago. Since then, hikers have reported seeing a little boy wandering the campgrounds looking for something, but never actually finding it. Nobody knows how Powell passed away, which has caused countless theories about him. And while he still haunts the area, people have also gone out of their way to create entire narratives explaining what happened to Powell, but the actual truth seems to be lost in history. But nonetheless, a lot of people are seeing them. Okay. Yeah, someone was asking about crime. So reported crime is rare in the Appalachian Trail, which makes, of course, the story of Randall Lee Smith even more frightening. So back in the 80s, Smith pleaded guilty to unaliving 2 hikers on the trail. He admitted to befriending and spending time with them on the trail. But then in the middle of the night, he unalived one and then the other. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison, but ended up serving only half of his sentence. And once he got out, he tried to do the exact same thing. He befriended two fishermen on the trail and tried to unalive both of them. They survived, thankfully. Smith tried to flee the scene in a pickup truck, but crashed and succumbed to his injuries a few days later. So, Mothman, I believe perhaps Mothman might exist only because of my experience at the Gates of Hell Cemetery. That's the only time I've ever seen this creature that looked like what is described as Mothman. So I have a documentary on the Tube to the U channel. So 25 years ago, no one even knew that Casey Cemetery in Eastern in Elizabethtown even existed. No one knew. It's an old abandoned cemetery, and in the paranormal community, that we communicate through Yahoo groups, and no one even knew that place was even around. But some families had contacted me because they knew there were people going there performing satanic things, rituals. They just didn't like it because they had family members buried. It's no longer being used. It's abandoned. And so they asked if I would go there and bless the ground. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for appreciate that. And so I said, yes, I would. So we went there. Wow. Thank you. Thank you guys for the gifts. I appreciate them very much. Thank you. So I went to this place and we did an investigation. There was an altar there. There was a satanic altar that I removed and took several of the items, and all hell broke loose. That place it is not the same place in daytime at night that it is at night. It's two different places, two completely different places. When you go to Gates of Hell Cemetery, at night, it comes alive. As a matter of fact, I'm the one that named it the Gates of Hell because we were on the radio. It was an online radio at that time. Thank you for it. Was a paranormal. It was a paranormal radio show, and this is for YouTube and all that other stuff and Facebook and so we went on radio and we talked about what we had, and we said, "Man, this is like the Gates of Hell." It's like that's it, and that is how it got its name, the Gates of Hell Cemetery. But we were there one time. I've talked about this before. So I talked about this story before. So we got to the back, and there's a lot of new people here. In the very back, there's a dead tree, a great big dead tree, and there's a fence. It's like a horseshoe fence around the cemetery, and there's caves and trees all over the place. And there's a path leading in, the same path leading out. And so we were in the very back by this tree, and we started, it was the middle of the summer, and obviously the crickets were going, but the wind started blowing the top of the trees, and the trees would just start swaying back and forth, but we didn't feel any of the wind where we were, which was kind of strange. And then once that started happening, the crickets, everything stopped. Everything stopped. No noise. And we started seeing shadow people. It was me and three other people. We started seeing shadow people darting in and out of behind trees. We originally thought it was locals. It was sort of like 5, 10, then 10 people, then 20 people. And I thought, okay, something's not right. Because what it was doing is like we were here, and it was like the shadow people were running back and forth, and here's the path going in and out. It was like it was blocking us in. And at that time, we didn't have what I needed to perform the minor rite of exorcism. We were just there to do investigation. And I said, it's time to go. We all felt it was time to go. Something's not right. So we went out, and there's a tree right in the front of the cemetery. We were about maybe 15 feet away from the tree. Our backs were toward the cemetery. Only one of the investigator had a flashlight. And this was the old flashlight with the big old D batteries. And we kept hearing it rattle. And we looked at the flashlight, and we noticed that his face was pale. And we turned around to see what he was looking at. To this thing, I don't know what it was. Thank you very much. Thank you for the gifts. I don't know what it was. I know what I saw, but I don't know what it was. It was massive. Bishop David Price, God rest his soul, but he was there with us, and it was this gigantic, massive. It looked like a bat. It looked like a 10-foot bat. That's the only, with a long torso. We had the flashlight right on it. We could see everything. The claws, the eyes. I mean, the eyes were solid, like a fluorescent red, and looking right at us. The wings were out, spanning from tree to tree, and it was massive. It didn't make any noise, but we knew that if we stepped 1 inch closer, that was not going to be a good idea. And I've said, I wish somebody would. I even talked to some friends of mine that are police officers. I would love to do a show where we could do a lie detector. I don't know what this thing was. I know what I saw, but I can't define it. Was it Mothman? I don't know. But it was something. It was absolutely something. So, and when I got home, I took my dog Kylie out to the restroom, and there's a big old field out in front of my house, and so Kylie was doing her business, and there was this growl, and I've heard growls before. Oh, see, Simonese, you can't be nice. That's why you get muted. You can't be nice. Folks, if you're going to be trolling, you're going to be blocked. You won't get my attention. The Jerry Springer mentality doesn't work here. We're adults. You're trolling clergy on a Friday night. Seriously. Go watch Amazon Prime. Something. Anyway. And so we heard this. Yeah, be blessed. I heard this growl. Yep. I heard this growl. And I've heard growls before. And I grabbed Kylie and said, and she stopped. I mean, I said, nope, we're going in. So it was a pretty aggressive night. No question about it. So what I saw that night, I don't know. But we absolutely saw something. And, well, yeah, I mean, that's right, Hillary. You're trolling clergy on a Friday night online. And I think my life is boring. Whew. Anyway, when I go back, I think if you go back at night, this is a place, honestly, if you've ever seen Silent Hill, thank you very much. If you've ever seen Silent Hill, that is Silent Hill. And it really comes alive at night. I tell people, stay away from it. Stay away. So was I afraid? Oh yeah. Of this creature? Yeah. And it was different than with demonic possession. So with demonic possession, the parlor tricks, you kind of, but with this thing, it was something different because I can't define it. And I think that's what made it scary, is I couldn't define it. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the whales. I appreciate that within. Thank you. So shadow people. Shadow people, look, I've been to Waverly Hills many times. Many times. I live in Louisville. That's where Waverly Hills is in, Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky. I've seen shadow people there, and I never felt threatened. Never. And then I've seen shadow people in locations that had demonic activity that was very violent. So I can't say shadow people are only specifically this, because I've had experience with cases that were not violent versus cases that were. So, yeah, daytime is fine. Daytime, you don't feel threatened. It just feels like an old abandoned cemetery, but you definitely feel that it's just a different feeling. Different feeling. So, okay. Well, there's a lot of people being blocked tonight on TikTok. Do you not understand? I'm not paying attention to what you say. So I don't even know what you said. So that's what I don't understand. Excuse me. I'm going to go slower. I might be speaking too fast. For the trolls, I got to go slower. Trolls, I don't read your comments. You don't intimidate me. You're not going to make me angry. you will get no reaction from me at all. None. You'll be completely ignored. Completely ignored. Except by the moderators. They'll block you. So if you're wanting to get blocked, they'll be happy to oblige. But if you're wanting to get my attention, that really isn't the way to do it. Just be an adult. I know it's difficult for some. Just try. Okay. So I had to go slower. You know, you got to be kind. Okay. Can you answer me as if you're the only person asking a question? Christian, been confirmed, God, Jesus, how can we die? How on earth is there room? Can you answer me? I'm a Christian, been confirmed. God, Jesus, how can we die? How on earth is there room? You'll have to help me out with that one. I know that TikTok doesn't give you many, options to type out what you actually want to type out, but you'll have to help me with that. Oh, Carol. Wow. Carol Bell says, I died in the hospital in 2024. I had 6 angels. Actually, yeah, I had a near-death experience as well. And my near-death experience, I absolutely saw my mom. 100%. 100%. So Bobby Mackey's, here's the deal. I don't work for Ghost Adventures. Do I know something happened to Bob? Oh, absolutely. There's no question something happened to Bobby Mackey. I was there. And it was interesting how so many people went online as if they were there, talking about, well, this didn't happen and that didn't happen. And then I didn't see you there. When were you there? I'm kind of curious. You weren't there. That's right. I was there. I saw it, and I experienced. I heard the growl. Zach, of course, went off to it, and he came back. Something was off, and I knew something was off. You can see it in the eyes. Even with Aaron, he became very aggressive. So it's funny how people talk about it as if they were there. They weren't. It was me and the 3 guys. That was it. They didn't have a whole team at that time. That was just us. That's it. Yeah, it was Aaron. It was pretty aggressive because Aaron's not an aggressive person. But I remember him having this camera. We were back in the room where that growl was, and he kept looking over at me like this, and just gave me this nasty look. It's like, okay, something's not happening. Something's not right. But yeah, it was pretty serious. Do you think that Bigfoot might be an unknown animal? I do think there's something there. I do believe in Bigfoot. Now, what it is, I don't believe that Bigfoot is an alien. I'm not a big believer in I know some people believe he's an interdimensional being. I'm probably more on the lines of maybe some type of explanation from a scientific explanation. I don't know if he evolved from X to Z. I just don't know. I think it's more of a creature, but there's some intelligence there. So, you're on here. Oh, Toby, I've just looked you up, and you aren't even a real priest. Well, Toby, you probably shouldn't go to YouTube and get your information there, Sunshine. And sometimes when you go online, anybody can create a website. Like I can create a website right now saying that you're brilliant. People want me to prove that demons exist. Look at the chat. Look at the chat on TikTok. If you think trolling is normal, then you're normalizing abnormal behavior. Trolling is demonic. I've said this before. You cannot have the Holy Spirit within you and troll another person at the same time. You can't. Trolling is purposely using your words to try to hurt another person. That is sadistic. By the way, serial killers do that. Serial killers are sadistic. The fact that people can say some of the nastiest, most god-awful things to another person and then put their head on a pillow at night and not give it a second thought, that is demonic. So if you're trolling, you need to be fully aware that you are participating in demonic activity. And I would strongly encourage you to speak to your clergy member immediately for a deliverance. Because a person who has the Holy Spirit within them, they don't troll other people. Plain and simple. Okay. Good evening. Hello, hello, hello. And anyone who tries to defend trolling, well, you're part of the problem. You ever get to watch the video about the Navy SEAL encountered you? I did not. No, Port, I did not. I didn't get to see that. Vicar, how many room up there in heaven? Because I born every day. Is Vicar, how many room up there in heaven? Oh, it's endless. And Casey, no, I don't think Casey was, I don't think he was legitimate. Not at all. You can go to usocc.org. What do you say about black energy? Well, I mean, there's a lot of people refer to even as shadow people as black energy. But I've found that sometimes with shadow people, sometimes it's human spirits trying to manifest. And I've also seen shadow people that was demonic. So, any tips on finding a new church? Make sure, one, the pastor doesn't preach prosperity gospel. And two, they don't preach prosperity gospel. So very important. Certain presidents troll people on various platforms all day and most of the night. Amen. Amen, Doreen. Oh, amen. Why do you doubt? Because there are some things that he said that didn't, many things he said didn't come true. So, Missy, have I ever gotten scared? The first exorcism I was scared. Prosperity Gospel, Mr. Voice is, yep, we have mass here every Sunday at 6 p.m. We have Bible studies Sundays and Wednesdays. We have night prayer at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Prosperity Gospel is when a preacher tells you that God will bless you in abundance. The more money you put in the collection plate, then the more God is going to bless you. That is heresy. That is not biblical. You can't buy God's blessings. God's blessings are free. God is not for sale. There's a lot of that nonsense going on today, telling you that, oh yeah, the more money you give, the more God's going to bless you. That is a lie. That is a lie. You can't buy God's blessings. He's not, like I said, he's not on sale. Not on sale. So anybody who preaches that, you need to leave them immediately, because the only thing that they're worshiping is money. That is it. Because God called me here. I studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood for 6 years, received my minor orders. In the last year when I was in graduate school, God called me to do this, and I didn't want to. I begged God to take it away. I said, God, I don't want to go to the old Catholic Church because I don't know how to start my own church, and how am I supposed to make a living? God continued to call me, and for 1 year, I ran away from that calling until a priest finally said, James, as God is calling you, you need to answer. And finally, I said, okay, God, if this is where you need me, then I will go. So within the old Catholic Church, we receive no stipend, no salary, no housing allowance. We are working clergy. We pay for our own ministry out of our own pockets. So those of you that continue to attack me, do you not realize you're attacking the very source that called me here? That's stupid. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Not a lot of sense. And 800,000 follow. There you go, Paul. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Jess, I had a dream once. Yeah. So I would say yes, in dreams. So there we are. And now we're here. There we go. What's with some demons scratching someone? Okay, Susan, so there's also a term called dermatographia. So many times when people are sleeping or when they're unaware, subconsciously, they may scratch themselves, especially when they're asleep. And so that's an issue. So that's many cases, it's dermatographia. When people say, and an exorcist will know whether or not it's self-inflicted versus a demonic. And no, I'm not going to tell you. I won't tell you how. So anyway, Yeah, we don't have time now. So now, by the way, don't forget. So next week, we're going to be here. We're going to talk about Krampus, the history of Krampus, which is pretty interesting. And we're also going to have our night prayer. I'm not finished yet. I'm just giving you guys. We're also going to have night prayer tonight at 10 p.m. How often are there symptoms? Simply just theatrics. Great question, Lion. Yeah. And there are Lions VS asking about theatrics. That is a good question. As a matter of fact, I remember driving 11 hours. There was a grandmother who was taking care of her granddaughter, and her granddaughter was acting like she was possessed, terrifying her grandmother. Her grandmother was in heart failure, so she had a pacemaker. She was already terrified. She contacted me, begging me to please. And I said, okay, I had to raise money to get there because I don't charge. I've never charged. And so I finally got up there, put it on my credit card, drove 11 hours to get to this location. And as soon as I walked in, the granddaughter fell on the floor like a fish out of water, screaming and wailing. I knew it was an act. And in the biggest, loudest voice, I told her to shut up and sit down in that chair. She stopped. She looked at me like the deer in headlight look. I said, you're not possessed and you should be ashamed of yourself. And I lectured her for an hour because she took 22 hours away from me that I could have helped another family that was legitimately dealing with an activity. And the only reason she behaved like this is because of her grandmother didn't buy her something. But when you walk into a location and a demon has, and a person that is possessed, they will have what's called retrocognition. Retrocognition is the ability to know your sins. Prognostication is the ability to know the future, or they will levitate. Or their body will have a contortion that's very unnatural. Or you will do tests, and they will have no idea what you're doing, but the demon will. So there are clear indicators that an exorcist knows if a person is faking versus a person that has legitimate possession. For those of you listening to this on podcast, I say good night to you guys. Don't forget, everybody, again, at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live once again for our night prayer, and I am hoping that you all join us and stay with us. I'm going to make sure I upload this right now so we can have that. Also, don't forget, our Mr. Producer behind the scenes is going to be going live at 11 p.m. right here on TikTok. There's a meteor shower that's supposed to happen tonight, so you might want to tune in. It's Bill Skywatcher, all one word, Bill Skywatcher. It's TikTok, I'm going to stay with you guys for a little bit longer. So Bill Skywatcher, all one word. Everybody else, I appreciate you being here. Don't forget, next week, we're going to have Krampus. And this Sunday, we have Bible study at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and night prayer at 10 p.m. Until then, remember, my friends, your value does not decrease. Based on a troll's inability or refusal to see your worth, you're priceless, and don't let them tell you or convince you otherwise. We'll see you next week.